Welcome, friends, to the Here I Go Again podcast, where we discuss life, faith, politics, and a whole lot more. I'm your host, Rob Standridge, and I'm glad you're joining us today. So with that, here we go. Welcome to episode number 14 with Dr. James Taylor, JT, if you will, and known JT a lot of years. Great guy and running for superintendent of the state of Oklahoma now, superintendent of schools. So JT, how are you doing? How's the campaign going?
Well, we are doing well. God is in the blessing business, and we're in the receiving end. And, you know, as I was driving over here, I was thinking when I first met you, it was at the restaurant in Noble.
Okay.
What was it called?
Kindles.
Kindles.
Okay.
That's when I first met you, and that, goodness gracious, that was in 2007, 8?
Probably, yeah, somewhere around 8 or maybe even 9. I mean, that's when kind of the compulsion came over me to get involved, and I think maybe similar for you.
Yeah, well, that's when we met, and so I was just thinking about that. That's been a long time, and now your daughter's gonna graduate from college. I know you feel old, but I feel old too. But
yeah.
Man, that's incredible. But
the years fly by.
They do. But the campaign's going well. Since winning, going into the primary, it has been a whirlwind and just nonstop events and things that are going on. But that was good. People were not expecting us to be there. I would agree that was the expectation was not that you were going to finish in the top 2. Yeah, yes. But we always did expect that in this relay race. We just expected to be with John Cox. That would be who we'd be running off against. We didn't expect what was going on. We now found out why my opponent is where he is, but we did not expect this. And I just tell you, Rob, I was not interested in running for superintendent.
Yeah, I didn't know this until we ran into each other earlier this year.
Yeah. And I was, and even there, I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, I know. We just kind of
talking about it.
What month was it? Was that February?
No, it had been earlier than that, I think, because it was in February is when I decided.
Okay, so this probably must have been December, probably January.
Could
maybe.
be.
It was at the Helen Cole meeting. Back in the first year.
Yes, and I wasn't interested in it, and people kept saying, JT, you ought to run. I was asked about this all the way back in last year, January. So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And I kept saying no. And then someone said, well, why don't you just at least pray about it? And I said, okay. And see, you know me, I'm like Moses in the wilderness. Unless God says move, we ain't doing nothing. Yeah. And so to me, I interpreted silence as good news because I didn't mean to have to do anything.
Yeah. Well, you're busy enough.
So what happened was in February is when I got in the race. But in February, Ben, who is one of the GOP guys from Weatherford, and I had spoke on my book there about a year ago. And
now you say Weatherford. Where's he at? Just a gentleman in Weatherford?
No, he was a GOP chair.
Oh, the GOP chair. Okay, Ben.
I don't know what county that is. Is that?
I don't know.
I don't know what county.
Weatherford. We'll call it Weatherford
County.
I know Southwest University is there. Which is an awesome school. Yeah. But I don't know the county.
Well, he called out the clear blue, and he says, JT, I was thinking, you need to run for state superintendent of schools.
Just out of the blue.
Out the blue.
Did you talk about this when you're in Weatherford? With your
no,
book?
Heavens, no,
okay.
no. That wasn't even an issue.
Okay.
I mean, no. And so I said, well, how's the weather down there? It's kind of changing the subject.
Yeah.
And so we visited a little bit, and then I go home and I say, Rafaela, I said, honey, weird thing happened. Ben, and she knows Ben. I said, Ben from Weatherford, he called out the clear blue and says, I think you ought to run for state superintendent. Rafaela says, well, honey, I guess I ought to tell you what I did. And it's like, okay, what did you do? And she says, I laid out a fleece. And it's interesting, when Gideon laid out his fleece, it wasn't to get God's will, it was confirmation of God's will.
Confirmation, right.
And so she says, I laid out a fleece. And our fleece was that 3 different people would ask me to run for superintendent across the state all in one day. And so, and literally 30 minutes after she tells me that, I go to the bank to make a deposit. And my banker, his name also was Ben, which is weird.
Okay.
His name is Ben, and he had voted for me when I ran against Tom Cole, and he's talking about he still had my sign, wanted me to sign my sign, and I'm like,
right.
That and $10 to get you a cup of coffee at McDonald's, and so we visit all the time. But out the clear blue, he says, JT, I've been thinking, and I think you would make an excellent superintendent of schools. And I'm like, by the end of the day, there's 5 people. And so I go to Rafaela and I say, hey, honey, your lease came to fruition, and I think what that means is you're supposed to run. And she says, no. I specifically asked God if you're supposed to run. Okay. So I said, okay. So I got in this race late, really late. I got in mid-February.
Yeah, that is very late.
And we did not everything that conventional wisdom says we did not have. And this is, when I say this was the hand of God, it really was. We had no money. I mean, when you look at the gubernatorial race, those guys spent $70 million.
Really? I hear figures all over the map.
70 million. Well, one spent 10 million. Now that's also adding the dark money. One spent 10 million. One spent 5. Another spent 7 million. And when it's all said and done with the dark money and all, that's $70 million for a $150,000 paycheck.
Yeah,
I mean that's off the chain right there. Well, anyway, we didn't have any money. We didn't have
a few million, but not.
No. we compared to what they had.
Let's count pennies.
We were the pennies.
A few thousand.
We had 7,000. We spent a little over $7,000 for a statewide race.
Right.
Which is just unheard of, and so
you can't even print brochures.
We printed them, and we had to make some decisions. We did like some of the things we didn't. Everything they tell us we didn't have. We didn't have a Facebook presence or an X presence, because when I ran for Congress, Rafaela would go with me and she'd take pictures and then I'd post. Well, we didn't have, because of our son who's autistic, we tried to do these events with him and he can handle about 20 minutes and it's over. So she had to stay home. So I didn't ever have anybody to take pictures of me so I could post. So there wasn't any presence there. So I didn't have that. We didn't have that. I didn't even have an X presence. Now we do, and these guys are helping big time. We didn't have we wanted to do text messaging, and we wanted to do door knocking, but we only had a limited amount of money, and we decided, how are we going to spend this? Because for a statewide office, we had to spend $1,200 to get the walk list, and then we'd have access to the text messages, which would be 3 cents.
So much per text.
Per text. So we had to decide. We wanted to do that, but we said, okay, do we want to do this, or do we want to get more signs? What's going to be more effective? Because obviously we're not going to walk every house in the state. So we chose to get more signs. So we ended up with only 700 signs across the state, which is nothing.
Well, because they're probably $10 a piece.
Well, ours were right at 5.
Oh, okay.
So we had ours was pretty cheap. So
it's like $4,000 anyway.
But still, and so we only had we had to make those decisions. When from running before, you go to any corner and you've got 700 signs for one candidate nowadays.
Right.
So we didn't have that. Everything they tell you, put 3 signs here. Well, we didn't have 3 signs to put there. We only had 1, and the whole time. We're praying about this. This is all about the hand of God, and we're saying, God, we don't have all these things. We didn't have a paid consultant. They always tell you got to have a paid consultant. We didn't have any of that, so we didn't have any of those things to do that. And we said, God, you like to multiply things. Your word tells us it can be 10-fold, 20-fold, 50-fold, 100-fold. We're asking for 1,000-fold, and that's what we did. We want every sign to make that. And so here's another thing that we prayed. This was very powerful when we found this out in Ponca City. But we prayed that when people would go into the voting booth, that if they were going to vote for somebody else, that God would inspire them to vote for me. That's what we prayed, because we didn't have the things that we needed, but we had God.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, when we got the election was almost over, about 10:30 we're at home. And we get a phone call from a media person, and the reporter clearly was stunned. But there were still
recount.
There's still 5% still out, but it was looking like we were going to be number 2. They couldn't catch up, and so her first question was, "How in the world did this happen?"
Yeah.
And I said, "This was the hand of God. God orchestrated this to take place."
His hands.
Well, they don't want to hear that. So she asked, the next question was, Well, I don't understand. You spent a little over $7,000, and one of your opponents spent almost $200,000, and they lost. How did this happen? I said, ma'am, you're not listening. This was the hand of God.
It's the only way it could happen.
It's the only way. Yeah. And I said, you guys in the media, you look at two things, and you determine from those two things if a candidate is, your word is viable. You look at how much money they've raised, and you look at how many people have donated, and you determine from that if that candidate is viable. Right. And you completely discard the grassroots, which was powerful in this election, and also you totally ignore the power of prayer. Yeah. And now those things never made it into the article.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's the story. That's the story. You conventional wisdom doesn't work. This is what God did. So what would happen was when we went to Ponca City, I think Ponca City was the first place I'd gone after the election. And during the question and answer period, one person raised their hand and said, hey, I don't have a question, but I have a statement. And he says, when I was going into the voting booth, I was going in and I had someone else in mind that I was going to vote for. He says, but when I got in there, all of a sudden I changed my mind and I decided to vote for you. I said, you were answered a prayer because that's what we prayed for. Well, at the end of the day, 2 other people came up and told me the same thing, that they were going in there to vote for somebody else. So again, the answer to where we are today is because God orchestrated this, and there's no other reason for it.
Yeah, I've been around politics a long time, and to have $7,000 and only in those small races where you can actually touch everybody for free. Yeah, like you could knock doors or whatever. But statewide race.
Yeah, statewide. This is
impossible.
Statewide.
That's impossible. Yeah.
And it's really.
So this didn't happen. It can't have happened.
It wasn't supposed to happen, but right. God. But God.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's this. The whole idea is, we have been completely dismissed. I mean, they sent the Channel 9 sent the news reporters to Adam Pugh's watch party. They never even bothered to call and ask us if we were even going to have one. I mean, we were we're still being dismissed by the media. I mean, they have had us done some interviews, but they're not, to me, a statewide office for $7,000, that's a story.
Well, I've never heard of your opponent either, so I don't know. But I guess he spent some money. I mean, maybe he sent some mail out, did some commercials. I don't know.
Not really. What happened was there's a group called Oklahoma Advocates, and they are about.
Oh, this is the social media group, right?
They're about 68,000 strong. They encourage their members to switch their political party, to register as Republican, so that they can, quote, get one of their own in, and their own was Franklin. Okay. It's interesting that when we did the debate for Channel 9, they told us ahead of time, we're only going to take the top 4. The rest are not going to be there because there were 7 of us. They weren't going to take the top 4. And Franklin was number 5 in the polling. So technically he shouldn't have even been there, but all of a sudden they take 6. Why didn't he just take all 7? But they just took 6. It's the weirdest thing.
That is weird.
So he was not in the top at all. But on election night, all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere, and you're responsive. Who is he? Yeah. Because he just became a Republican in 23. So he's been a registered Democrat since 1980. And
so he just switched because it's the only way he can win.
Correct.
And so he's
in the state of Oklahoma. So he's not, and he's not a Republican. I call him a Demoplant. Yeah. Is what I call him, just simply because he's been planted there to impact the election, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I've been saying this for a while. Oklahoma, we need an entity that's statewide, that has a big enough presence and people trust, so that voters can look to that as a guide. And right now we don't have. We have some good guides and indexes out there, but we really desperately need that, because you can spend $1 million and people that were Democrats a few years ago and still are not really Republicans, but they put on all these mailers how the other guy's horrible and they're good, and people don't know any better.
They don't
have the time to go out and research all that crap.
And that's sad. That's sad that the electorate is ignorant. I don't mean stupid. I just mean they have a lack of knowledge.
Correct.
They do not know what's going on, and whoever has the most media out there,
money,
that's what it is.
Times,
and you know this. this election cycle with all the commercials on TV,
oh my gosh,
they were just brutal.
Oh my gosh,
brutal.
I tell this story sometimes. John Eccles, who I supported running for AG, I was at my in-laws' house one night and I saw a commercial come on. It trashed. I think it trashed John. Then one for his opponent, saying his opponent's good, and one saying, there are like 3 or 4 commercials in a row. Mm-hmm. And if you believed everything about commercial, you would be like manic depressive. Oh, he's great. Oh, he's horrible. That guy's and it just. And I also say this about John. I hate to pick on his campaign, but this stuff that they came out about John at the end. I served with him for 12 years. I'm sure I can find some stuff that I disagree with him on, but that was complete bogus. It was totally. Maybe the governor put his hand on the scale of this DUI, but I can't imagine if John had anything to do with it. There would have been quotes from him or a recording of him, not just people talking about it. But it's so bizarre what works in politics these days.
And so we're moving into we recognize that we're in the midst of spiritual warfare.
Oh, there's no question.
And our country, I personally believe that the office of superintendent is more important than the office of governor because of the impact of the future of our kids coming up. Oh, yeah. And I think that we've got to get this right. We've got to get this right. If we don't, we're going to be in trouble.
Well, I noticed that the local school district here during June, they're not even in school, puts out an email celebrating Pride Month, and they're even afraid to say anything about Christmas.
Yeah,
and so we're turned over, we're upside down. We want to go out and honor everything that's against our core, if you will, and we celebrate all of that, and we forget about what school's about, which is just reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yeah, literally.
And we just use it as some kind of test bubble to see how many kids we can convince in these bizarre areas. But so let's go back a few years, JT. So we've known each other a long time.
Yes, we have.
And I know that in my early campaigning, you were one of the first friends of mine that actually said the prayer at one of my events, and it was probably in 2012, 2011, somewhere around that time. My good friend Phil Scouten probably said, he's a pastor, so probably said my first one, but we've known each other a while. You toyed with politics. Where can you point to that this was the moment, this was the time in your life where you said, okay, I feel God's calling or pulling on my heart to get involved in the public square?
Well, I have worked in political aspects before, meaning behind the scenes, knocking doors for people, going all the way back when I lived in Arizona. So I just was liking to be in that position and not being in the position where you take all the heat.
Right, not the candidate's position. So you help.
So I help candidates. I'm knock doors for you.
Yeah, for sure.
And supported Lisa. I behind the scenes, that stuff was there. So it really was when I first. People were asking me to run against Cole as well, and I really wasn't interested in that because that's your first jump into politics is running against the 8th most powerful Republican in Washington. Didn't know all that at the time, but that didn't matter. I still challenged him because I felt that where he stood was different than where I felt.
And some of us were pushing to run for a state house race.
But that's true. That's true. And that was kind of like I never really saw it as a.
You didn't see that path.
As a step. Well, I didn't see it as a stepping stone, and that because it wasn't. I just didn't see it, and so like this, one of the questions that I've been asked more than once is, "What other office are you going to run for?" I'm sorry, this is it. I'm not running. The only other office I would run for is a re-election if that happens, and. But not for this is not a stepping stone to governor or Congress or anything. That's not even a thought process. And so this is it. This is it for me. Whether I win or lose, that's it. I'll still help people. I'll still be helping others around. But that's where it happened with Cole's race with Cole, and I challenged him in 16, 18, 20, and 22.
For some reason, I thought it was just 3 times.
No, it's 4 times.
4 times, okay.
I didn't want to do it the 4th time, but my wife says, he's got to have a challenger. And I agree with that, but so I ran again.
Right.
And but it is, we actually, we got more than 35% of the vote, the most that Cole's ever had against him in one of the elections. So that was fun. But that's kind of how it is. I think that you can't talk about, oh, we need to make change without being the change agent.
Right.
Without making a change. It's really interesting. I was thinking about this just the other day. This is not the first time that I've made some suggestions about how we could finance the school system without going after the taxpayers' money. Back when the teacher walkout occurred,
that was crazy.
Well, don't get me started. But back
the strike. Let's call it what it was.
Well, that's what it was. It was a strike, which was illegal, but that was a strike. When the teacher walkout strike happened, for the first 4 days, I went to my classroom because I'm a teacher. I'm going to be teaching. Well, then I got kicked out of school.
I remember that.
Yeah, I got kicked out of school.
And POE was really helpful in trying to.
Yeah. So we got kicked out of school. And so I wrote an article on my Facebook page and just saying, hey, this is, I'm here in my classroom. Here's what we need to do. And then I gave a way that we could save money, get money for teachers' salaries, have extra money left over, and not ask the taxpayers. And so I just put that on my deal. Well, it got picked up. Somebody from Capitol Hill paper or something that dealt with the legislators, and they picked it up, and so they ran that there. So that came out and did that. So, but the legislatures didn't do anything with it. But that, and again, I don't believe that I don't think you should be able to say, oh, well, this, you got to have some solution. Yeah, we can complain all we want, and everybody does, but then tell me what you can do different. Tell me how you're going to fix the problem. We can all identify the problem, but how's it going to get fixed?
Well, the funding for schools is always a challenge. I mean, it really probably should be per pupil. That would probably be the simplest. That way, whether you had school choice or charter or whatever it is, the money just follows the child. Exactly. One of these days, hopefully, we'll go to that system.
Yeah, that would be that'd be a whole simpler thing.
How long now? When I met you were pastoring a small church down on Gray Street, I think. Yeah. So I don't know where is that the same?
Well,
church?
no. When you met me.
Oh no, this was more. I'm sorry, Gray was more currently.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah, we actually now have our own building now. We were able to.
I'm sorry. So let's go back further. Yeah, when I met you, you were pastoring
at University Christian.
University Christian.
Yes.
That's correct.
And
that was a pretty large church.
Yeah, it's
right?
a decent sized church. Yeah. It merged with Summit. Church. So University doesn't exist. That's the building's still there, but the name has been changed to Summit, and so they're.
Combined with
another church, and we started our other church, and we've been in our new building for a little over a year. We got in there.
And is this the same church that coming back more recent? Let's say 5-6 years ago, where Lisa and I visited a couple times.
Yes.
They're on Gray Street, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now you have your own.
Now
building.
We have our own building.
Where is that?
We are. You know where Trinity Baptist is?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
We're right on there. We're literally Trinity Baptist sits here,
right,
and we're just north of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
and that's over
First Christ Church in Norman. It's off of Peters.
Yeah, off of Peters.
901 North Peters.
There's a school there.
Yeah, Wilson Elementary.
Yeah, okay.
Wilson Elementary, right across.
And what is the name of the church?
It is First Christ Church in Norman.
First Christ Church in Norman.
First Christ
Church. And is that what was the church there before you guys there? Was not a church building?
It was initially a church building, but it was used it was converted to a daycare.
Oh, okay.
And so we
remodeled it. You re-churched something that had been de-churched.
Yeah.
Sweet. I like that because we got a lot of de-churching going on.
De-churching that's going on.
We got a lot of old church buildings being used for all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So that's awesome.
So we refurbished it, and we had to tear down some walls and things, but it is looking good. You have to come by and visit.
Oh, we will definitely do that. I did not know you got your own building. So when was the call for you to be a pastor?
Funny you should say that. It was in the summer of 1972.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
Yeah, I just recently committed my life to Christ on May 14th, 1972. I committed my life to Christ.
How old were you then?
12ish.
Okay.
13, and so I determined that I was going to read through the Bible every year.
Okay.
And so I literally have read through the Bible every year for that to this day.
Now, do you use a special kind of Bible?
I do now.
Okay.
Back then, I didn't.
There weren't really.
There wasn't anything.
Yeah,
I had
true.
to create my own system,
right,
so that I can get it all in. And that turned out to be good. But
I've tried several of the year Bibles.
Yeah.
I've come. Some of them I like better than others.
Yeah, I use the year Bible, and I've done the one. I don't know if you ever used the one that's the chronological Bible. That's a yearly.
I have.
So
I've done both. It's been a few years ago, but
I like the regular Bible.
I like the year Bible.
Me too.
I've done several versions of that.
Yeah. And so
72.
1972.
God is pulling on your heart.
I'm sitting on my bed. I'm the only one home at that time. Because everybody else was
and
out.
Where were you?
This was in Cannon Air Force Base in Clovis, New Mexico.
Clovis, New Mexico.
Where my dad was in the Air Force. We're sitting on the bed, and Rob, as clearly as I'm telling you, I hear, James, you're going to be a pastor.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm thinking,
if you do the reading like you're supposed to.
Well, yeah, really. But I'm thinking, okay, my older brother's messing with me. So I get up, put my Bible down, get up, and go search outside around the house, and there was nobody there. So I come back, put my Bible back on my lap, and I said, what? And it says, James, you're going to be a pastor. And so ever since then, things have changed. I preached my first sermon when I was in 11th grade.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. It was New Mexico.
At Grady, New Mexico.
Okay.
Well, I was a president of Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and so our librarian went to church in Grady, which is a town that's close to Clovis. And it was a little small town. And so she said, hey, we're going to be having a meeting at our church. Would you come and just give your testimony and share? And I said, okay. So
17-year-old.
Actually, I was 16.
16,
because I graduated at 17. I was 16. I go in there, and she didn't tell me it was an area-wide revival.
Oh, my gosh.
That was being held in the gymnasium.
So instead of
30
or 40
people,
yeah.
The gym is packed.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Okay. I'm mortified.
Okay.
I'm literally
it's not
mortified.
a tournament or anything. This is a revival. So
this
you're
is
not
a revival.
speaking in front of athletes.
The pastor who's there, the revivalist, he's there, and me. We were the two people. And so we get up there, and I all I know is that when I was speaking, there were several people who were cheering and clapping and shouting at certain things. I said, I don't even know what I said. Honestly, I wish I had known, because apparently it was pretty good. I just don't.
Well, it's probably on social media, right? Today it would be everywhere.
It would be today.
Yeah.
And so so that's what happened. So that was the first sermon, and then I did my first internship, my first summer, in Hill City, Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah, up there they were looking for a summer intern youth pastor, and that's when I did my first internship, and everything since has led to where I am, and that's my calling.
So when you when did you locate in Oklahoma? What year?
We came here in 2000. I want to say 7.
Oh, 7.
So
okay.
in fact, because it was shortly after. Because I had preached a sermon at church on the 4th of July and our American heritage, godly heritage, and they recorded the sermons, and someone brought that to, who was the chairman at that time?
Bobby Cleveland.
Bobby Cleveland.
That's right.
Bobby Cleveland.
I remember that because Bobby Cleveland, was there a DVD or something?
It was a DVD, yeah.
I remember that because, so I had, in fact, I think one of our early discussions, I could be mistaken, but I had run into a pastor in California, Rutherford, David and Dudley Rutherford.
Yes.
And I had that DVD, and then I got a copy of yours, I think, or I saw it somewhere. Maybe we watched it. But anyway, I think one of my early visits with you is like these because there was several pastors across the country. Obviously, God was speaking through them to try to bring forward this Christian heritage and how the country had. We're still off track, but how we had gotten so off track.
Yeah, we got way off track.
That's correct. We continue to get further off track, and I think pastors need to get even more motivated in that area. But I remember that.
Yeah.
And I know, in fact, the video I have here isn't that long after that. I don't know whether this is 12 or 14, something like that.
It was Bobby Cleveland who actually inspired me to do this.
11, yeah.
This okay. Bobby was the one who inspired me to do this video.
Can you still order this, by the way?
Oh yeah, you can get that. You can, okay. but just get it online. It's free online.
Okay. Or you can donate to the campaign, and I'll send them one.
That's right. Nobody has DVD players anymore. Everything's
that's
live
true.
stream.
I do, but sometimes when you put them in, you're like, oh, the DVD won't play because it's so dirty. Or
and ours works only with the remote, and sometimes trying to find
the remote. That's right.
Is a chore.
Well, I would say that if somebody watching this goes out and donates to JT, I'd say $200 because this is a collector's item. I've got about I've got about 20 of these, 10 or 20. So you tell me, anybody that donates you $200 or more and they want one of these, I'll send them one. All right, JT.
Awesome.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, I think it's probably worth 5 times that if they get real generous, but $200 we'll send them one. So that'll
sounds good.
So if I got 10, there's $2,000. That'll
sounds
help
good.
You.
Sounds good.
But no, this is great. So you had the video of that. I remember that. I know I watched it, and I can just picture you at the pulpit because the Universal Christian was an old-fashioned church.
Yeah.
You could see yourself up in the pulpit. I can picture you there. Yeah. And it reminded me of the Rutherford, which is the reason why I think we had that conversation.
Yeah.
So that's when you met the infamous, awesome Bobby Cleveland, chairman, who was extremely helpful to me, by the way, when I decided to run back in the day. I love Bobby Cleveland. In fact, I've run into him here and there. He still goes to meetings and stuff after serving in the Senate. So you called the ministry, you pastored there. Now you have a great burgeoning young church. Yeah. People need to visit, and so a lot of people hear this from the left or from wherever, that intersection of faith and church and politics and leadership. So separation of church and state, which you and I both know doesn't exist. Right. But how do you? I know you answered in this, you answered in other things. What is your answer in your book?
This is my answer.
Right. And this is available on Amazon.
Yeah, it's available wherever we get. It's biblical, not political. But whenever someone's now I'm hearing that again. Well, I don't think pastors should be involved in politics.
Right.
But when they say that, they're revealing some things about themselves that I don't think they know. One, they're revealing that they don't know much about American history, because American history was that this country was founded on Judeo-biblical principles, big time. And another thing is, I don't think they have access to a dictionary, because one of the definitions that deals with politics is, quote, one's influence on society. So if they say, I don't think pastors should be involved in politics, what you're saying is, let's put that definition here. I don't think pastors should be involved in influencing society. Well, that doesn't make any sense. That's what our whole job is. In fact, the problem we have today is society's influencing the church rather than the church influencing society.
That's a good point.
And so I see that's happening. And so those are things that people are revealing to me. But here's the thing. When people say a separation of church and state should not happen, then I don't know what they do with the 20th president of the United States of America, James A. Garfield, because James A. Garfield was a preacher who became the president of the United States. In fact, Garfield actually preached a revival as the president. Now, can you imagine the president of the United States coming to preach a revival at your church? So you can't get any higher than the president of the United States and being a pastor.
Wow.
I mean, that's but people don't know that. They don't know American history. So my answer is real simple. You learn American history. Yeah. Now
there's a recent movie. I don't know if you saw Great Awakening here recently. That's about George Whitefield.
Okay.
Who was
I have not seen that, but I'm familiar with it.
It's just recent. It's on one of the streaming things now. But anyway, Lisa and I watched it here a while back, and it's really good. It's very good. The Angel Studios are one of those groups.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
But it's very good, and I think it's not. Somebody might watch it and think, well, this isn't the norm. Maybe this is an exception. I'll just tell you, after reading the founding history, any piece of it other than milk toast stuff that the left's tried to put out. If you read the real history around the founding era, even through Garfield, I mean, it is filled with pastors and preaching from the halls of Congress, for goodness sakes. I mean, Patrick Henry, he gave sermon after sermon on the floor, as did others. And so, unfortunately, a lot of our houses of leadership, including, I know when I served in the Senate, for instance, we had God there all the time. Now we have politicians preaching and praying, which is weird to me. But yeah, I think we're off track, and it's going to take things like your book and other things that you do, and hopefully a superintendent.
Yeah, this is the superintendent position. I'm looking forward to it. Actually,
I think you would be amazing. I think you'd be fantastic.
Thank you. You're very kind. My superintendent of my school tells me I should tell this story wherever I go.
Okay.
And that's just, and he says this is really, and before I got into this race, I visited with him and talked with him about getting involved because the tension that might come to the school and whatnot. Anyway, and they're all excited for me. I called up there the other day, and his secretary was just thrilled that one of their own is.
Did they expect you to be in the runoff?
Well, I told them I would be because
I'm sure they love you and they want you to be.
They kept asking me. They kept asking, "How's the race going?" And I would always tell people, I said the same thing: if the grassroots are any indication of what's happening, I'm going to win.
Yeah,
that's what I said every single time because the grassroots were solidly behind me. So what happened was, as a teacher. The first week of school, you have maybe 2 days.
We don't want to get in the location of school, but what do you teach? What grade?
I teach high school. I teach early U.S. history.
Okay.
I teach government, and I teach current events.
Oh, awesome!
So those
right up your alley.
No pun intended. It's tailor made for me. This is really tailor made.
It is absolutely.
It really is for me.
And you're tailor made for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm tailor made for this superintendent job too. But what had happened was. The first week of school, the kids will always have an A on their assignment. I make sure that everyone does because I tell them, I'm going to call your parents, and their eyes get big as saucers, and they don't know what to do with that. I said, no, this is good. I'm going to call your parents, and I'm going to brag upon you. And then they really don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
So I called and introduced myself. I'm Dr. James Taylor. I have your child in early U.S. history or current events or government, and they have an A in my class, and I anticipate that they'll continue to do A work. Well, in 18 years in the classroom, every year, I hope this year will be different, I hear at least one parent say, you're the first teacher that's ever called and said something positive about my child.
Oh, okay. Well, now, that may be true.
Well, it's sad. It shouldn't be. Because I have sophomores. So there should have been at least 9 other teachers who have called and said something positive. But so when I call the parents, that builds a positive relationship to me and the parents, obviously, and it builds a positive relationship to me and the child. But here's what it did with the superintendent. Now, in 18 years, I've never seen the superintendent on the campus, let alone in my classroom. So 3 weeks after I got to Little Lakes High School, in comes the superintendent during my planning period. And I'm like, uh-oh, what's happening? Because you just don't see the soup around.
Right, yeah.
And he's the one who told me to tell people this. He says, you have no idea how you have impacted the Little Lakes community. I have parents calling me saying, I want my younger children to have Dr. Taylor when they get into class. Oh. So what's happened is, since I got there, my schedule has been completely changed. I get every single sophomore that comes to that school. They come to have me in their class. Now, if we could get 10% of the teachers in our state to call and brag upon their students, the perception of our public schools will increase, because right now it's going down. In 2024,
sure.
2024, the perception of our public schools approval was at 41%. 2025, that dropped to 31%. And parents are pulling their kids out. So we got to do something different. And if we could get 50%, that'd even be better. And so, I share that because I want to add to this where my superintendent, what he says, what the parents say, but these are letters that my two students have written to me that I want to, my phone is buzzing, I'm going to turn it off.
So quick question though, before you get to those, you've been doing this a while, this is your MO to try to help
I do this all the time.
The kids, the parents. Do you ever meet the kid, though, that maybe says, now I can see why nobody in 9 years have called? I mean, I can picture myself and the parents go, well, nobody's ever called him. We understand why.
No, because I see every kid has the potential
for sure.
to not – the reason the kids act that way is not because they have nothing better to do. It's something is contributing to that. And so oddly enough, I've never had to call the parent. The kids think, if he'll call and say something positive about me, he'll call and say something negative. Maybe, I've never had to call to say anything negative. So we do what we can to make sure that those kids that things are good there. So, the connection is with these kids is when you have the superintendent saying, "Hey," and then the school just changes my schedule to have put all these kids to make sure the kids get this, and then you got the parents saying the things. Here's what students said. These are two things that this.
And this is since you've been at this new school, right?
This is this year's stuff.
Okay.
We have a class called advocacy. Okay. Advocacy is basically study hall, but better. You have the kids freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year, so they stay with your advocacy teacher the whole time. This girl graduated this year, and here's what she wrote. She says, quote, "You've been the best role model and teacher. I want you to know that you'll always be in my heart from how much you've impacted my life for the better. You're truly an amazing and the most inspirational person from this school. I pray you have an amazing summer and an amazing candidacy." She says, love her name. And then she says, in parentheses, your favorite. And the funny part about that is literally my kids argue at class about which of them is my favorite. They'll say, "Dr. Taylor, aren't I your favorite?" I said, "Sure."
Sure. Of course.
But see, when that happens...
My kids say that sometimes too.
Yeah. Something good is happening in that. Now, this is another student.
Actually, my son always accuses me of one of the girls being my favorite. Yeah. So she's your favorite. Yeah. So which one today?
Yeah. Well, is he, where is he in the pecking order? Second?
No, he's last. So he's 13.
Oh, then he's the favorite.
Yeah, I think both girls would say yes.
Yeah, right. He's the favorite. He's just blowing smoke.
That's correct, right.
Yeah. Well, here's one that was, and both of these students said I could share this. So this one was one, I only had her for 5 months because she was having some issues in another class and her parents pulled her. And so she went into EPIC and she's actually doing well. She's going to actually graduate early. She's been able to move forward. But here's what she says. "Dear Dr. Taylor, you were an amazing teacher for the 5 months I was in your class. I learned something new about the world and government every day. Still keeping an eye out for how much we are in debt." I showed them the debt clock.
Oh, wow.
Which was stupid.
No, that's good.
But they see it. But the good news is she's still looking at it.
Wow.
And she learned something and she still knows how to go look at it. So that's good. And of course, you don't really want to keep looking at it because
it's depressing.
It really is. She continues. She said, "You showed me a lot of stuff in class I would have never learned through anyone else. I appreciate the time you took to teaching me. Thank you so much for allowing me to be able to sit in your classroom every day. You always told us, quote, 'I love you,' end quote, after every bell just to make sure everyone knew they were loved by someone. Even on my hardest days, I knew walking into your classroom would make it better." And so I share both of those things.
Wow, those are very
for this reason. In this election, I want to bring that kind of passion where parents want their kids to be in school, where the administration wants the kids to be in a place where the kids feel like this, where the kids feel like they are valued, that they are important, that they matter. I want to bring that same type of enthusiasm to the entire state.
That would be amazing.
It would be.
And you could do it.
And it can
if
happen.
Anybody could do it, you
happen.
could do it.
It can happen by the power of God. Now, and I will say this, if parents don't want that, then you got somebody else you can vote for.
Right.
I mean, that's bottom line.
Right.
And so this is what I think is something that's very, very important, that the kids, the kids know that they are valued, and I will tell you, the first day of school, I tell them, "Hey, I'm going to tell you guys I love you." Now they don't know what to do with that either, but what happens is, it's funny towards the end of the year, the kids who tell me they love me the most are the boys. You know why? Because they're not used to having a male role model that shows that they are important. Yeah. And so we have that. So it's just really, and then unfortunately, I've had some students say, "Thank you, Dr. Taylor. You're the only adult that's ever told me that they love me."
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
wow.
That stuff breaks my heart.
Breaks your heart.
That
just
breaks my heart. I can't imagine growing up in something like that. I'm sorry. That doesn't compute with me.
Well, if you could infuse our public school system with that kind of mentality, that kind of leadership, that type of character, to bring those kids and bring them all up, you wouldn't just achieve 50% approval. You would achieve 100%.
It would be
75%.
It would be significant.
And huge. Because even the worst school, and I say worst, not because they're really bad schools or bad teachers, they're just producing a bad product.
Yeah.
But if you can that's why I like programs like Character First and stuff. They try to do that, but you have to have it from the top down. That leadership has to come from the top down.
And that's one of the things that I want to do. I part of that is our first year teachers are we don't do a good job with our first year teachers because they know their subject matter, but they have horrible classroom management skills. Our colleges are not training them for that for some reason. They're giving them all the other stuff, but they're not giving them the classroom management stuff. And when I was at Roosevelt Middle School, I mentioned to when they were doing the red schedule, I told her, I said, listen, kids who have been in trouble, they get in trouble a lot, go ahead and put them in my room, my class, but just don't put them all in one class. That would be tough.
Spread them out.
Spread them out, but I'll take them all. And you know what? I didn't have any problems with the kids because the first day of school determines what's going to happen the rest of the year. The most important day of the year is the first day of school. If a teacher's going to be absent, that is the worst day to be absent. You get home from your vacation and you take care of whatever, but that's the first day, the most important day. And so that's one of my strengths, and that's when we have technology today that I can duplicate myself with videos and YouTube and stuff like that will help those folks. And see, one of the things I want to do, I'll be the first superintendent to actually teach as a superintendent. I'd like to do it once a week, but that ain't going to happen. But I will do it at least once a month for sure. To go into the classroom, because I think it's crazy to be in your ivory tower, disconnected from the very reason why you're there.
And you'll pick out schools that are struggling. I would assume.
Well, I've already had 4 people ask me to come teach in their classroom.
I would bet you do. I bet you, especially after this video, you probably get more requests. So if you and me and Joshua King, Congressman Joshua King, were visiting the other day. Now you and Josh were visiting more than I was involved, but I was standing there and listening to some of your conversation, and his mom is a rock star, superstar in education. You guys were talking. Can you share with listeners what you were talking about, coaching and different things? And some of the things you said you wanted to implement in Oklahoma?
we are looking at. I'm going to connect with his mother, but to have kids participate. You can have older kids, high school kids, that can help in the elementary schools with reading, with arithmetic. All those things with the phonics. Phonics is being brought back. The legislatures did bring that back. That was a royal blessing. I mean, I don't know why they got rid of it, but they brought that back, and they brought back cursive, and they're hiring more money for reading teachers. And so that's what we were dealing with, was those type of things to make sure that our kids have the best chance for success, because they only have money for 20 reading specialists for a state that has 551 school districts. So if that's, we definitely need more.
Well, Mississippi turned their school system around, I think, through this coaching concept, which Josh's mom kind of led.
Got that from us.
That's right, from Josh's mom. I
exactly.
understand.
Mississippi, and it took them 10 years to do it. So this isn't going to turn around in one night.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it took them. Mississippi got it from us, and again, the legislature started picking it apart and taking these things out, including the phonics. Now they're putting it back.
And we watered down the third grade reading retention.
All of that stuff, and that's another thing. There is no social promotion now. If the kids are not getting what they need, they don't get to be promoted.
Right.
So that
was a critical mistake.
Yeah, because especially with math. Yeah. Math is one that it's a building block. You build upon.
If you don't have these, you can't get
these. You can't do that. Yeah. There's no way. And so the kids get further and further down, even though they're getting higher grade and level. And so, all those things are going to help our state. Lyndall Fields is the one that's the superintendent now, in the interim, and he'll be starting this stuff this fall and getting this stuff implemented. And my task in January is to continue that on and to make it become fruitful in our state.
Well, you're a mega warrior. Do you know what that is? Make education great again.
Oh, right? Yes, okay. Right. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
But I honestly believe, JT, if God and the voters would give you an opportunity, I guarantee you that the education system in Oklahoma would improve dramatically. Not just the zeros and the ones and the scoring and all. That's very, very important. But if you think of how you approach life and how you approach other people, JT, you're just, not only are you a pastor by profession, you are a pastor by
I pastor my students.
But you pastor your students. Imagine having that over the whole system.
Yeah.
Somebody that would take in those teachers and those students. Yeah. The product that you would produce would be out of this world.
Well, that's what we're hoping for, and we've got basically 6 weeks.
Yeah, 6 weeks. So
it's right around the corner, man. That's right around the corner. But about 6 weeks, a little over 6 weeks, and. Then we got to go to the general, but we're prepared for that, and we're prepared for January to be in that position. We're planning on that.
For some reason, my heart tells me that you can get there. I mean, I think it's, politically, it doesn't seem. What did you use the word when we started? Viable?
Yeah.
I mean, because you weren't viable the primary.
Yeah.
And God does, I always tell people, expect it when you least expect it.
Right.
Because God sometimes delivers when you're like, oh, okay, I'm about to give up. Yeah. And then he comes through. And it's his timing, not ours. Yeah. And maybe it's time for Oklahoma to have somebody like you that is so filled with the love of other people and to help people. Maybe that's time we have that instead of a political. And I'm not calling your opposition. You're so different than him in a million different ways. We don't have to demean him from a big heart point of view. His ideology alone should have him beat in a Republican primary runoff.
Well, we had, we were in the debate. We were asked to bring a book.
All right. I think I've heard, but I would love to hear this explained. So what book did you bring?
Well,
Okay.
This is the book I take. I've been bringing this book every debate, every time. This is my book that I recommend because I think this is a good book that people will understand. In fact, if you want to know who I am, this is who it is. What I say about education, I wrote this back in 2015. This is nothing
it's been
new.
A few years ago,
2015. So this is nothing new for what I stand for. So that's what I recommended. But
it's not available audio, is it?
It is. It is available. In fact, you can get it for audio for like $3.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. It's not audio.
Not audio. It's e-reader. Because I looked on there and I didn't see Audible, and I've been having people ask me about my book. Is it audio?
Yeah,
okay.
I don't. See, I'm old school. I like holding a book, turning pages. To me, that's
me
cool.
too. Me too.
But so I don't read hardly anything that's electronic for that. But anyway, so he brought his book. My book is very different. His book was Separation of Church and Hate, and all you got to do is just Google that, and you'll see what that deals with. And it is night and day compared to this book. What it deals with is the LGBTQ plus community, and it says that everything that you and I believe, what the Bible says about the LGBT community, we have got it wrong, and that we have misunderstood. In fact, in his book, he suggests that after reading the writings of Paul, the Apostle Paul would have been supportive of gender reassignment surgery. Now, I've read Paul's writings for some 50 plus years, and I have never got that perspective out of it. So it's very, very different. But it says that you and I, we've messed up. We do not know what the Bible says because we have it wrong. And he, the author, he has it right. Well, I disagree with that. I mean, again,
let's mutilate small children so their entire lives
can be destroyed.
Destroyed.
Well, and again, you're asked to bring any book. He brought 3. All 3 were bad, but that last one was the worst. And it's like, those are the books you're going to bring to. I mean, if you're trying to, because he's a new Republican, so to speak. You could have brought The Art of the Deal. That would have looked better. Something like that. But no, not this.
And we have trouble with those types of books both in school libraries and in public libraries that are much worse than those.
Yes.
But to bring something like that, and this is how you're going to run our schools.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Exactly. So that's one stark contrast. And there's I don't know where on the social media, that stuff is going viral. That stuff has gone viral. So there's a lot of people that are aware of what that is, and so we'll just see what happens.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. The challenge for you in your campaign, JT, is whether we like it or not, it's going to be a bit financial. So I'd encourage, 1,000% endorse you for superintendent.
Appreciate that.
And I think that anybody that has some spare change, $200 for the video, that's a good deal. Because you have to tell. So we can talk about this, and we'll put this out there, and hopefully thousands of people will watch this. But we need, how many people voted in the primary? Did you look at that?
There was 25% of the people voted.
So what was that? 400,000, 200,000?
It was probably close to that because
400,000 maybe.
Right around there. Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
Right. So, but you have to, and maybe there's 300 or 350 then in the runoff. You have to have enough of a machine,
right,
where you can educate those people on this book, if nothing else.
Yeah.
So they'll know, okay, maybe this guy would do good in D.C. or New York City, but this Franklin guy is not an Oklahoma Republican.
No. Well, he hasn't been in the classroom, and this is.
So he's not a teacher.
He used to be.
Oh, okay.
But it been. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's when the fax machine was the greater mode of transportation of communication.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's been 30 some years.
So he was recruited to run
the classroom. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was recruited by Rob Miller. Rob Miller was one of the ones who was running, but then unfortunately his wife died and he dropped out of the race.
Oh, I had heard about that. Yeah,
and so Rob Miller recruited him. For that,
because he had this machine where people are switching parties from Democrat to Republican. So Rob Miller had that machine set up, and he handed it to this guy.
Yeah.
So what is his? So if he hasn't taught in that years, has he been in the education system?
He's retired.
Oh, so he just came out of retirement.
He came out of retirement to do this. Now he is. I would commend him. He's been put into the Oklahoma Education Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And so that's something to be commendable. Right. But he hasn't been in classroom in a while.
Right.
Now he does. He says it because he's has administrative experience that makes him better than me. But I disagree with that because what I've already began to do is surround myself with the people who are better at certain things than I am. Because I anticipate God put me in that position, so we want to hit the ground running. And so, in fact, I'm going to be visiting with two more this Friday about being a part of this team to make us number one in the nation.
Yeah. Make education great again.
Make education great again.
Yeah. Well, I think it's awesome. Is there any other thing that we didn't touch on, JT?
No, just my website is Taylor4ok.org. Taylor4ok.org.
And you can donate.
And there you can donate. Okay. If you want to, you can request a sign. You can request a volunteer.
So we're so far along that a lot of people think the recurring donation, but in your instance, I'd say a larger one-time donation is better since you only have 6 weeks.
Yeah, we got
left.
6 weeks. Yeah. And if you donate it in the primary, you can donate. It starts over. You can start all over now because this is considered a different race.
And per individual, what's the max people can get?
The max is $3,500
per individual.
Individual.
So a couple
can do 7,000.
7,000.
Yeah,
right.
that's
so you just have to do $3,500 in the husband's name and $3,500 in the wife's
right. That's
name.
all it is. Yeah, you just do it like that.
So I would encourage everybody, couples out there, if they want to see JT as superintendent, get the checkbook out, write $3,500 a piece, send it to Taylor4ok.org. And
go there and it can be there. Yeah. And so, we're, this is what it is. Now, the good news is, we spent $7,000 in our last run, and in the last, this is 2 weeks. 2 weeks since the election, we have already made that same amount.
In donations.
But we need a lot more. Our goal is to get about $180,000 to $200,000.
I was thinking $200,000 would be a good number.
That's what we're looking at. And so
this won't quite get us there. The
$200
times 2, 10.
So we're hoping to get that. And then there's some endorsements that are coming out and that are probably going to be helpful.
Good. Excellent.
There's some good endorsements, and people are looking at that. And
but you need the money. I mean, the endorsements are great.
Absolutely.
But people need to donate.
We definitely need that to
because you got to send maybe a mailer out or do a television or a radio commercial or something.
Right, because we know that the dark money is going to start hitting us, and but that's all right. They're already telling the lies about me already, but. That's
welcome to politics.
Yeah.
I
knew that, but that's okay.
So I tell people, don't believe the positive or the negative until you go look at something because people believe everything.
Yeah, they do.
And so, you can Google things and find out at least, he robbed a bank. Well, you can Google that and find out, well, no, he, bounced a check one time 50 years ago or whatever. I don't, there's always a little kernel of truth to things.
Right.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
sometimes not at all.
Yeah.
So politics is a nasty business.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah.
Well, I think so. The ways they can get on Taylor4OK.org. They can donate there. They can get request a sign.
They can donate.
Get on your email
volunteer.
list. Yeah.
Yes, and we get those things out to them, and we're doing that now.
Yeah.
This has been a whirlwind, to say the least. And this is a statewide race, which is different when I ran against Cole.
Yeah, for sure.
It was very different, and it was in some ways that was easier. This one is crazy.
Yeah, because you may be speaking in Tulsa area, later today, and you can be in Altus tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, Here, this was a sliver of the state that was easy to maneuver. I mean, it's still easy to go. We're centrally located. The furthest we went was Boise City, and that was a 5-hour and 20-minute drive. I was closer to Denver and Albuquerque and Amarillo than I was to Oklahoma City.
My good friend Senator Casey Murdoch, he lives in Felt, Oklahoma, which might as well be in Texas. So,
it's out there. Yeah. But the people out there are great people.
Awesome.
Oh, man,
awesome.
they are awesome. And there's some good cooks out there, too.
Well, you need to talk to Senator Murdoch. Maybe he can get you a little shindig out there.
Right.
But then you might say, do I have 12-hour round trip time?
We're going wherever we can.
Yeah, good.
We're going wherever we can. And, like I was mentioning to you yesterday, we had 4 events yesterday. One here at Channel 9, then in Tulsa at Channel 2, then a podcast there, and then another podcast here. So that was a full day, but it was a good day. It was a good day, and this is a great day because I get to talk to my friend.
Well, thanks for being on, JT.
Appreciate you having me.
Anything we can do to help promote, we'll promote these videos and clips, and so
thank you so much.
Hopefully, get you another. You need another 150,000 votes.
That sounds good.
No problem.
That sounds good. Yeah, at least that. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, JT.
Appreciate you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.